Hey everybody! Welcome back to Northernlion, plays Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. Plus, we're making good progress, having good runs, and I'm not ready for a Apollyon yet. But I'm also not ready for a Zazel. You know, we haven't done an Eve. I like hitting characters where we can get multiple things done in the same run. K8SK P2JN. Just sounds like a normal sentence that an alien might have. As Eve, we can do boss rush, we can do Shoal, and we, I guess I should say, can do the Cathedral, and it should all work out a-okay for us. Hey, especially now that we've guaranteed ourselves the Whore of Babylon state by getting one of the worst pills in the game, so, let's you and I just pretend that instead of getting a health down pill that annoys the crap out of me, what actually happened there was we picked up a deal with the devil where we traded 1 HP for Whore of Babylon. Same exact criteria. However, I feel so much better about it because it's like we got something out of it instead of just having something removed from us with no possible contingency. Weird how that, or at least I was gonna say the human mind, but weird how my mind works like that, dude. Okay, first off, I'm very disappointed by the fact that we got hit there, but at the same time, wait, what is actually a 12 out of 10 item for us right now? I will not pick up Blister. It's a garbage trinket. I'm sorry to say it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news there, but it really is terrible. I wish it weren't so. Emergency contact, IMO, that's how we of the internet age say, I'm merely opining. Excuse me. It is, what was I talking about there? I got so mind-flooded into my joke that I forgot to actually finish the coherent thread of conversation. I've multi-threaded my brain, but one of the cores is busted. Nice damage. I was gonna say emergency contact something, and I believe what I was gonna finish that with is the autofill of emergency contact is sort of overrated in my opinion. Like a glorified teleport card. There's a lot of kind of meme cards and pills in the game, and I don't know if this is necessarily one of them, but I think it's much, much, much more valuable for us to hold on to 2 of diamonds instead. Now, we did kind of, in a way, we kind of screwed ourselves by accidentally getting the Halo. It's awesome to have the stats upgrade, and it will be better now that we have a chance to get ourselves back in Whore of Babylon state here, thanks to a particularly cooperative arcade that thankfully doesn't just have a key beggar in it, which happens with more regularity than I'd like to admit. Yeah, Parasitoid tears are lovely as well. This run's actually popping off. I got nothing to complain about. I can't complain about losing HP and then also gaining HP. Like, you just become a broken record at that point. You don't want to get a reputation as a guy who complains about absolutely everything. When I complain about social faux pas, I want you to know that oh, that sucked. I want you to know that it's like, it's intended to be Seinfeldy, and it's usually a bit. Do I get annoyed with people in public? It happens on occasion. My number one pet peeve in my life, this should tell you how sheltered my life is that it takes us forever to get into a lobby on the NLSS. I still, to this day, I don't understand it. Some games are to blame, but sometimes I gotta blame myself or my co-hosts. Like, there's only like 4 different archetypes for lobby. Server browser into a join on me, send me an invite, or enter this code. Those are the only 4, and yet for a long time, it was taking us like 8 or 9 minutes to get into, and I digress is the point. Like, I mean, at some point, you just gotta, like, just grab a politician by the scruff of their neck, drag them out here and say, this is it! This is all we are! That's the famous quote from the astronaut. Anyway, not Buzz Aldrin. There's other astronauts I've heard. What about Julie Payette, right? Next Governor General, of Canada. She's a Canadian astronaut. I don't know if anybody else outside of Canada knows who Julie Payette is. I'm just saying. So we might as well take Book of Belial, and I'll give you one good reason for that. It allows us to very, very easily grab the... yeah, that was incredibly stupid, let's be honest. But it allows us to very, very easily grab the blood bag, which allows us to get... oh, 99 bombs. It allows us to get a speed upgrade, which we may or may not even need, but why not grab it while we have the chance, right? And this way we don't ruin Whore of Babylon. Now, we don't get much out of Book of Belial. Actually, we might. If we end up in a library that only has 2 books here, then we got Bookworm, essentially, out of it. Instead, we ended up in a library with 1 book. Not quite as good. So I guess we're going to 2 of diamonds and hold the Joker card. self-damage is so bad here. Now, I will tell you, it's a good run. I don't know where I was going to go with that except for saying that it's a good run. I got very little to complain about. Parasitoid Tears is very nice. We're a minute and a half ahead of schedule with more damage than you'd expect. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say that I'm not super worried about not using Two of Diamonds that effectively, and that actually just illustrated my point for me, which is that we normally, blah, 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 especially recently, we've only been able to donate like 3 cents to the donation machine before it cracks and, you know, renders it inoperable from that point forward. So I am not really worried about the fact that we weren't able to get to 99 cents there because of the fact that the donation machines have been fairly uncooperative here. Unfortunately for me and everybody else involved. All right. Let's get this going. Sorry, I was just closing a tab in the background. That was probably the worst use of wait what that I could imagine. And then we got I'm excited as a result, so it was like even worse than I could even conceive of at first blush. But we aren't actually that stoked to have wait what anymore, because we already have unlimited bombs. So first off, start dodging again. This is getting a little ridiculous, but I'm gonna Joker it up here. See if we can leverage our existing HP. It is mildly inefficient, but you know, it's like you're working at the plant for 20 years. You can take some mild inefficiencies. Yeah, the young pups are gonna come in and be like, you know, why are you using spit instead of industrial lubricant? And you're gonna be like, look, buddy, this isn't my first day in the San Fernando Valley. I know how to get the lawnmower started. If you know what I mean. So we're trying to group all these guys up. The benefit to wait what is that it conceptually and mentally kind of like removes the guilt that I have about using bombs even when I have 99 of them. But that's like a personal problem. You shouldn't suffer from that unless you're cut from the same cloth that I am. It just feels better to use, okay? It just feels better to use wait what once per room to weaken enemies than to throw down a bomb. And I guess it's like an instant detonation, no breathing. Don't give an F if I cut my arm bleeding. We got Backstabber, which I believe is the first time we've had that in this save file, so it's not all for naught. I totally forgot, by the way. I mean, I'm gonna do greed mode. I'm sure people have started clamoring for it to some extent. I totally forgot that we have to not only do greed mode, we have to get our greed mode machine at 999 cents. Oh my lord. It's gonna take forever. A fortune. Ancient Recall. Gives us a ton of cards, right? Yeah, throw down Temperance. Got double of those. 2 Hierophant. Dude, Tarot Cloth is so good. I use the World card just to get it out of the way, but that's pretty silly, actually. Wow. So, we're kind of balling out of control here. We got IV Bag, which actually has some reason to use it. The big reason being that it will keep us in the Whore of Babylon state if that's something we're desirous of. We'll hold on to the Fool card for now. We got, oh, I didn't mean to buy that. We got a lot of money in the process here as well. So Moving Box is no good, in my opinion. It's got a certain weirdness that I begrudgingly respect, but I don't think it's particularly good. Wasn't there a Fool card in here that I've... Yeah, there we go. And then there was a 2 of Hearts that we don't want. It would be really nice, not on this floor because we already know what this floor contains, but it'd be really nice on the next floor to get a deal with the devil because we are dangerously close to being dangerously close to not being able to create Whore of Babylon. We can do it easily on this floor just by walking back to that shop, but on our present floor we can't do jack about it, and that's a problem. So the best course of action here would be to not pick up any red hearts, which I have almost no faith in myself to recreate, but if we can stick to that ideology, we should be fine. Otherwise, we could find ourselves in the same shoes that we were in on the last run. And if you're going, what's wrong with the last run? You gotta win. You need to go back and watch that run more closely, because we were really, really suffering from a damage standpoint. But To be fair, synth oil will save that as a problem for later. You guys know that song? Save it for later. I think this song by the English Beat. Save it for... It's not only used in Spider-Man Homecoming, but I believe also possibly in Dumb and Dumber. Give me a second here. Let's do a test here. Dumb and Dumber. Save it for later. Soundtrack. I'm just going here. 2 Feet of Butt Crack, performed by Circle the Wagon. I don't think that's it. Oh yeah. It's from another movie. Like another Farrelly Brothers movie. Anyway, I'm not... Look, I only brought it up because I thought that I was gonna make myself seem more intelligent by remembering what movie it was from, but it doesn't matter that much. I'm telling you, it's a Farrelly Brothers movie. I don't think it's there's something about Mary. That's all Jonathan Richman, you know. Her friends will say, stop whining. I forget. It's not Stuck on You. You gotta let me check. I'm sorry, this is very self-indulgent. I mean, what do you mean, you gotta let me check? I'll just do it. Stop me. Kingpin soundtrack. Kingpin soundtrack. Save It for Later by the English Beat. You see, I don't think that I have a special brain. What I do think is that I understand the ins and outs of my brain. I understand that deep within it is locked some information, and I, for whatever reason, have conceived of the tools to get it out. I got my mind palace. It is a Farrelly Brothers movie. It's not something about Mary. Woody Harrelson. Probably, one of his top 20 roles. Woody Harrelson, he's one of those guys, he's had a deceptively, well, maybe not even deceptively, but a nice career with a lot of critical successes. The new Planet of the Apes films, Zombieland. You might turn up your nose at Zombieland a little bit, because it's got a bit of a silly subject matter, but it's just a funny movie is what it really comes down to. And then, recently, The Edge of 17. Don't forget about No Country for Old Men, The People versus Larry Flint. He was on Cheers. 7 Psychopaths. He's been in a lot of great things. And this is like, excluding Kingpin, which some people will do and some people won't. I got a softish spot for Kingpin. It's not like I don't think it's a 9 out of 10 movie. Again, there is a moment in that, and I've talked about this on the NLSS, but it bears repeating now. He's on a farm with a bunch of Amish people. And he shows, everyone's like, where's Roy? And I don't know, we went out early this morning to do some farm work. And then comes back and he's got a milk mustache and a big bucket full of white fluid. And he goes like, whew, tough to find the udder, but once it got going, it just didn't stop. And then they're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I just got finished milking your cow. And they go, we don't have a cow, we have a bull. And as a kid, I was like, that's funny. This idiot accidentally did a seed extraction from a cow or from a bull, thinking it was a cow. It's not milk at all. Not of the same variety that you were looking for, at least. As an adult, I was like, this has troubling implications. It means that Woody Harrelson's character is actually he should not be able to live by himself out in public. You're telling me he can't identify the difference between a cow and a bull based on their literal sexual organs? Strikes me as being a little bit of a stretch for the joke. Plus, I don't want to ask, but how did he get a whole bucket? If he had a glass full, I might understand, but a whole bucket is a little stretching the... And people go, oh, it's just a silly movie, NL. Yeah, okay, but they, set up the joke. They didn't just go, hey, your breath smells like, semen. They set up the joke as if there was a logical progression that made sense, that this actually happened, which is why I call it into question. If they just said, wouldn't it be funny if he thought a bull was a cow, I wouldn't come at it on the same level here, but when you go for the setup, and it's like when somebody tells you a joke and it just goes on, and it's like a Norm Macdonald joke, like it just goes on and on and on through the opening segment, and you're waiting for the punchline, and then the punchline just is the fact that you tolerated the joke in the first place. I'm not against that style of humor, but I don't think that's what they were going for. Nothing? Nothing. I shouldn't say this is nothing. You never know. It was nothing. But we did, you know what? Out of all that, we got 2 Spirit Hearts. I'm feeling good about that. I do wonder how I remember that Kingpin scene. I can't even picture the moment that it's in the movie in my head. When I heard "Save it for later," all I could think of for some reason was like them being in a car. No, I totally remember. There is a time where they're driving and they're teaching the Amish guy how to. It's a montage as they make their road trip to Reno, Nevada to win $1 million in the bowling tournament against Bill Murray's masterful turn as Ernie McCracken, history's greatest monster. That's when they play the montage. I totally recall now. It's as if it's never left my mind palace. I'm gonna ask you. I'm coming at this from an honest perspective. Do you guys think Darren Brown is a charlatan to some extent? Here's where I'm coming at this from, okay? And I've seen a lot of Darren Brown content. He's a British, quote-unquote, mentalist, definitely magician. I don't think that he's a liar, is what I'm trying to get at, I suppose. But I think that a lot of his tricks might be doing, and I don't know this for sure, but might be doing the very thing that he tells you to be warned against. Because in all of his series, he warns you to be skeptical, right? He's always like, you know, here's how people do, like, cold reading to make themselves seem like they're psychics. I'm gonna take Monstrous Tooth, because we have so many bombs. Like, wait, what is just meaningless. But, you know, here's some tricks that people can pull to kind of make themselves, to do confidence tricks on you, basically. But I sort of think that he might be doing the same thing in a lot of his sketches. That's just moving box again. Like, for example, there is a sketch in which he supposedly incepts people before incepting people was even a thing, with the idea to rob a bank, and then he plays like a musical cue and gets them all to rob a bank. And then after it, they're like, oh man, I don't know what happened. I don't know what came over me. I just felt an overwhelming desire to rob the bank. I'm not claiming that necessarily, you know, hypnosis is false. I think that hypnosis is, you know, heavily influenced by the power of suggestion and how suggestible you are or even want to be. That's my layperson's perspective, at least. But that strikes me as TV magic. That's editing, right? Yeah, we'll take this. My actual favorite Darren Brown clip is one where he plays like 13 masters in chess at the same time. And for anybody, oh, we picked up red hearts. For anybody who's not familiar, being a simultaneous chess player is very difficult because it's not just about, like, it takes mental processing power to look at a board, you know, remember the state of the board or reacquire the state of the board, and then, you know, oh, this is what my plan was here. Like, chess is all about adapting, but also long-term planning and execution. So, it's very impressive. To play 13 strong chess players and come away with a winning record is incredible. But anyway, he plays 13, or 9 or something. The number is important. Chess players at the same time, and he comes away with a winning record. Well, above 50% record, I think. If I remember correctly, it has been like 10 years since I've seen it, but he, like, wins half, or like 48%, loses 48%. Let me rephrase this, because I'm confusing myself here. He wins, like, 7 games and loses 6 games to come away with a winning record. And what he did, at least what he claimed that he did, was he just remembered the moves that the person used against him when he gets around to that side of the table. So, you know, he starts by playing black on, like, the first 6 boards or something like that. And then he makes a move. remembers what they did for their move as white, and essentially, he just copies that move when he gets to the exact other side of the circle on which he's playing. So he's basically, I'm explaining it poorly, but basically, he's serving as a vessel for 6 chess players to play 6 more chess players, and then the 7th guy, or the 13th guy, I guess, he just has to beat, which is impressive enough in its own right, so you try to, I guess, put the weaker player there. Again, I think there might be a little bit of movie magic there, but I found that clever. Although, I guess it only works once. Start looking at the notation after the game and be like, ah, this looks very similar. That's a cool trick. I like that. But the stuff where he, like... The bank robbery one was like some Chris Angel stuff. I'm not saying it's necessarily impossible, but I am a disbeliever. But I could be wrong. But, you know, it's like he's telling people to watch out for these tricks. I think it's well within his rights to also sneak in a trick like that or something to see if you're actually listening and paying attention, or if you're just, you know, watching the show because you think he's a real smart dude. You know, but it would be the ultimate betrayal. Like, you ever walk into a lecture or a class? Oh my god, really? All you had to do is give me one more play. And then, you know, your professor goes like, everybody knows that fact is fact, right? And everyone looks around and they sort of nod at the other classmates and they go, yeah? And then the teacher goes, well, everybody's wrong. And you're like, what? Is this what higher education's like? No. Doesn't everybody have that anecdote of like their teacher in a grade? I don't know what grade for you. It was 6th grade for me, and it did really happen to me. And my 6th grade teacher was kind of a dick, so it's like the perfect segue here. Or the perfect believable story, at least. He gave us that classic test where it's like, you know, he goes, everybody read until the final question. Make sure you read the entire test before you take it, okay? And then, of course, very few people read the entire test before they take it. So you finish the test, and then you get to the end, and the final question is, if you read this first, before doing any questions, just put up your hand, I'll come grab your test and give you a 100%, you know? And it's supposed to be like, you should always read the instructions. I hate that lesson. Let's do it like this. I have a university degree. I did extremely well in high school. Not so well in college, but you know, distractions. Yeah, we'll take the mom's wig here. And I'm working on other credentials here in an unrelated field, and it's going well. It's going just fine. I never read the entire test or exam before I take it. Like, if that lesson was supposed to have any kind of enduring legacy except for my teacher cannot be trusted anymore, I don't know what it is. It has only been relevant in that one circumstance to read the entire test before you write it. Is that you're never, by the way, and this is a story I do not have a real anecdote for, but everybody is always like, oh yeah, in my philosophy 101 class in university, the final exam was just one question and it said why. If that happened to you, like, congratulations on living in, like, a movie, but, I'm skeptical, is all I'm saying. I never had that happen. You know, every exam or test I ever had after that point was like, well, recall Bernoulli's principle in, well, how do, the nephrons, feed uric acid into the kidneys for filtration, you know? Like, didn't get a biology exam that was just like, you know, describe how circulation works in as great or vague detail as you'd like. Certainly never had an exam where I got to the final page and then it said, congratulations, we're gonna give you a 100% on this test despite you not knowing everything simply because you read through the entire thing, you know, to begin with. Now, writing your name on the test, that's like, of course. If you're not doing that, you gotta build that habit because you are gonna get zeros for that. But I just think, it's not necessarily a useless skill, but what information are you hoping to glean by reading the entire exam? Before you take any part of it. The only reason I ever have done that is to see if there's a trick question at the end. It's like the ultimate self-propagating defense. It's like, you know, a virus that exists solely to self-replicate. AKA all viruses, but I don't respect that lesson. I would never, as a teacher, give my children that lesson, and you know, like 99% of my teachers are on the level with me there. Just one dude thought he was being real clever. It's the same teacher that gave us a lesson that I actually think is very smart. He just did it at the wrong time. He gave us an assignment, and this is another very common one, that was like, all right, write instructions for how you put your shoes on. And you'd be like, well, you take your foot, you put it in the shoe, and then you tie it up. And he would be like, okay, I'm gonna follow your steps exactly to the letter. He'd be like, okay, I took my shoe, I put my foot in, and he'd put it on, like, backwards, or he'd put it on the wrong foot, at least. And he'd be like, no, 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 you have to put it on the right foot. And slowly you would, like, debug what is essentially an algorithm for putting your shoes on, and then tying them up. I always wanted, like, as a kid, I thought that lesson was genius. And as I got older, when he came up with the algorithm, I always wanted to be like, oh, but what do you mean, take the lace with my left hand? You mean you want me to use my muscles by sending a signal from my brain to shorten the tendon in my, you know, the metatarsal tendon. I think that's on your foot, actually. You get the idea? Is like, if it's just a lesson in being pedantic, sign me up, because I can be pedantic with the best of them, buddy. But in all seriousness, that's a stupid lesson that I actually think is sort of actually useful, but not useful for a class full of 6th grade kids. It's really useful for, like, Introduction to Programming 101, for explaining how stupid computers are. Because computers are incredibly powerful, but they'll just do exactly what you tell them. And if you try to, at least in most languages, if you try to, I mean, even that's an understatement. I'm not going to get into it necessarily, but a lot of compilers are very, very smart and will correct your errors for you, like inlining and stuff like that automatically. But anyway, I digress. The point is, for the most part, at least on an early level, computer's going to do exactly what you tell it. So that could be an illustrative lesson where your teacher goes like, and this is how you got to write your programs. But instead, our 6th grade teacher just did it and was like, I'm smarter than you, because he was an idiot, and I hate him. Anyway, hope you're watching this. I hope you're a better person now. That's really all it comes down to. Yeah, let's get down here. I don't hate him because he was a disciplinarian. He was just a jerk. When you're 12, you know who a jerk is, right? You might also you might get some false positives from time to time, but looking back, that dude was just a jerk. Anyway, let us go. Wow, we somehow did not get hit there. We won't have the chest unlocked either way. So really, it's the world's our oyster when we choose where to finish this run. I'll just be straight up with you. I don't really want to do the hush fight with 8 damage. This run is a little bit better suited. I mean, 5 rate of fire is good, and the shots are piercing, but that doesn't matter for the hush fight, so it doesn't matter much, at least. We're more well-suited to a cathedral run. That's a good item. We're more well-suited to a cathedral run, but that could change. You know, we're on the Womb 2. It's probably not going to change. We'll think about it. We do have 73 cents. That could change the game a little bit. And knocking out the hush fight means we don't have to do the hush fight, which is nice for me. You know, it means that we've knocked something off the to-do list that might have been somewhat difficult, but we got it taken care of. So, yeah, maybe we'll give it a shot. I've kind of talked myself into it. I'm trying to think if there's any other, like, boilerplate lessons that always happen in school, or at least schools and TV shows and movies, but I can't think of them right now. You know what's like the most thankless job in the world? And there's probably people out there watching this video that are doing this, so I want you to know that I mean this from a place of sincerity. It's already pretty thankless to be like a high school teacher to some extent, I imagine. There's a lot of, you know, value you can derive from the job. Seeing good students, you know, excel and exceed and enter the next stage of their life, etc., etc. But, you know, there's also, like, still, like, a quarter of your job is daycare. That sucks. But what I was going to say is substitute teaching. It's actually, like, so much worse. Because it's almost like, you know, when you're a high school teacher, you're like a prison guard. And you've built up, like, a certain familiarity with the inmates. And if you're in high school right now, you're going to be like, well, that's very offensive to consider us inmates. I like to consider us collaborators when it comes to, you know, pursuing an educational goal. Yeah, that's fine, you know. You sound like a good egg. What you don't understand is that after they teach your class, AP Computer Science, for people that are going to make 10 times more money than the teacher every year for the rest of their life, they go and they teach, you know, knife sharpening skills to criminals. You know, that's not really a good way to look at it. But, you know, they can teach some unruly classes is what I'm trying to say. I'm sure that's got its own pluses and minuses, but, you know, a substitute teacher doesn't have that built-up level of familiarity, and they don't get that assumed level of respect that they've earned from the students. Instead, there's like a, you know, there's a theme of messing with substitute teachers that even as a child, you're gonna think I'm being holier than thou. Even as a kid, I did not get it. You know, there was one substitute teacher that very frequently came to our school district, and I'm just gonna be honest, she was not very good at her job. And that's, like, not really okay, but that doesn't mean that people should have treated her the way they did. Like, we had a class that was on the first floor of the high school, and then, like, we would, well, then I say we, I'm being sincere. I was kind of like a, you know, I was a goody two-shoes in high school, so I didn't do this, but there were people in the class, they'd sit there for attendance, so they were counted as having, you know, been present in the class, and then they would just open the window and just walk out of the classroom when the teacher's back was turned. So when she turned back around, they wouldn't be there, but then she doesn't remember their names, and nobody knocked on them. So, you know, she just sort of was like, okay, keep teaching. That's a blow to your ego, right? You know they're getting away with something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get away with. What's she supposed to do? You know, disrupt the whole class, put herself on blast? One of my students escaped from the classroom, principal, can you come here? I don't know, maybe that would have been a better option, but substitute teaching is a tough job. I got mad respect for those of you out there doing that grind. Especially because that's like a tryout for real teaching, right? That's why teaching is like a noble goal. I don't know, people always get on, well, not always. A lot of people really respect teaching as a job, but a lot of people are like, well, I wish I had a job that gave me the whole summer off. If you ever hear a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer say that, just punch them right where it hurts. That's right, the Twitch Prime subscriptions, which you can use right now on twitch.tv/Northernlion, in case you haven't already. That's tone deaf, dude. Come on, you're making the rest of us look bad. It's a combination, like, taxpayer-funded daycare and free intelligence boost. These people are, you know, they're spending, like, more time with your kids than you are, getting paid peanuts, and then everyone goes, oh, you know, you get so much vacation time, and also, you know, your union's too powerful. Not okay. Have some compassion. The majority of adults work primarily with adults. Ask them how they feel about their coworkers. Oh, Jennifer is so stupid. It's like, has she ever used Microsoft Excel before? Now take Jennifer and then imagine that she's 15. So she's stupid and, you know, well, I don't want to say Jennifer's stupid. I've never met her. She's just she's an object made up for the purpose. See, I don't mean that she's an object. I just mean that she is a tool used for a purpose in this analogy. Anyway, we're gonna totally win here. Take any of your co-workers and have their age. Unless they're 100, it's not gonna make them any easier to deal with. And even then, I think you got to give respect to the 100-year-old man. He's out there doing some stuff that ain't ever been seen before. If I went to Dairy Queen and there was a 100-year-old man making my Blizzard, take as long as you want, dude. You're a credit to human biology. I mean that with the utmost sincerity. Anyway, I'm just marketing to my large teacher demographic. I appreciate what you do, which is why I haven't had kids yet. Because I don't want to make your life any harder. The other one that bugs me is like well, we pay their salary. Everybody pays everybody's salary. I hate that line. People use it for like teachers and police. Well, we pay your salary. Your salary's taxpayer funded. Everybody pays everybody's salary. Well, you buy like a can of Coke once a year and go up to the CEO of Coca-Cola. I'll pay your salary. Everybody's supported. Oh, we can actually go to the cathedral now. Let's do it. One day we'll do Void again. It's the thing. I've had people tweet me and they're like, "Oh, you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable working in a job that's taxpayer funded." Everything's funded by the taxpayer. It's just whether or not you're being funded by tax. Money's got to come from somewhere. What, do you work at a magical money factory that nobody pays you and then somehow you get paid? I'd be surprised. That's what I mean. Like, if you're ever a customer of anything, if you pull out that, you know, I pay your salary line, just hit him where it hurts. That's right, the Twitch Prime subscriptions. That's not the way the business works. That's like the business, the way that economics in our society is supposed to work. Is you get bad product or bad service or bad price. You can get better stuff elsewhere. You just don't go there anymore, and then their business suffers proportionally as a result. It's like, you know, what you're doing is, if you ever say, like, I pay your salary, I demand to be treated well, is you're going into the bank with a gun and going, give me your money. You're upsetting the dynamic that we've fought and agreed upon for your own personal benefit. I don't respect that. Somewhat ironically, the only people that I think that are subject to that in a valid way are, like, YouTubers and Twitch streamers. If the problem is that I pay your salary is like, automatically as soon as you say that, you're in the wrong. It's like pulling a don't you know who I am sort of thing at the airport. It's never gonna work out. Even if they should know who you are and they're treating you badly. Like, if they handed you your suitcase and it had clearly been shot, like it was riddled with bullet holes, and you were like, don't you know who I am? People would be like, ooh, I gotta side with the airline on this one. George Clooney seems like he's being a little bit of an uppity jerk right now. But, you know, my programming is to some extent dictated by fan input. If anyone was ever like, hey, I pay your salary, bring back, you know, Flint Hook, I'd be like, ooh, I don't know, I'm asking for a raise. But, you know, it's still something worth considering. Are we going to the chest, or are we just knocking out the cathedral? Thank God, because I was taking so much stupid damage there. Eve's Birdfoot has appeared in the basement. Hello, Ruka. You're like a dog chasing his tail, man. You don't know what you're gonna do with it when you get it. Good comeback. Hey, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.